Today, on Let's Explore This, I am going to take you on a historical adventure through the remote mountain community that is Maple Springs. Like Wesser and other nearby communities, Maple Springs may today be a part of the larger Bryson City vicinity. It is, however, about 10 miles from the main town. In fact, at one time, Maple Springs could have been considered a part of the larger Needmore vicinity. The origin of Maple Springs is likely to be somewhat difficult to come across. Yes, Maple Springs does appear in a book that dates way back to 1913, a book called Western North Carolina, A History, 1730 to 1913. It turns out that Maple Springs once had a history with the outlaw Lewis Redmond. He was part Indian. He was born and reared in Transylvania County. He is said to have had hawk-like eyes and raven black hair. When 15 years of age, he was taken into the family of Uncle Wash Galloway, a pioneer farmer of the county. After he had grown and left his Galloway home, he began moonshining. Warrants were issued for his arrest, but the deputy United States Marshals were afraid to arrest him. Marshal R.M. Douglas, however, deputized Alfred F. Duckworth, a member of a large and influential family of Transylvania County. Redmond had sworn he would not be arrested, but the young Duckworth went after him notwithstanding. It is said that another deputy by the name of Lankford accompanied him. They came up with Redmond in the neighborhood of the East Fork on March 1st of 1876. Redmond and his brother-in-law, Lad, were driving a wagon. Duckworth told Redmond to stop, as he had a warrant for his arrest. Redmond stopped the wagon and asked to hear the warrant read. Duckworth dismounted from his horse and began reading the warrant. He did so, however, while holding his pistol in one of his hands. Redmond said, "All right, put up your pistol, Alf. I will go along with you." While Duckworth was putting his pistol in his pocket, Lad passed a pistol to Duckworth. Before a man standing nearby could speak, Redmond put the pistol to Duckworth's throat and fired. Then he and Lad jumped from the wagon and ran. Duckworth followed them a dozen or more steps, firing his pistol as he ran. He, however, fell in the road from the shock of his wound. He died soon after, being taken to his home. And Redmond, well, he escaped. Redmond was caught later in South Carolina for some offense committed there. Yet again, he escaped. Later on, he was captured in Swain County, at or near Maple Springs, 5 miles above Almond. He was living in a house which commanded a view of the only approach to it, a canoe landing, and a trail leading from it. A posse crossed in the night and were in hiding nearby when daylight came. Redmond left the house and went in the upper part of the clearing with a gun to shoot a squirrel. One of the posse ordered him to surrender. Then Redmond whirled to shoot at him, when another of the posse fired on him from another quarter, filling his back with buckshot, disabling but not killing him. he was taken to Bryson City. There, while recuperating from his wounds, he received a visit from his wife. She managed to secretly give him a pistol, which Redmond concealed under his pillow. A girl living in the house found it out, and she told Judge Peter C. Pritchard, who was one of the men guarding him at that time. He told his companions, and it was agreed that he should disarm him. This was done, warning having first been given Redmond that if he moved, he would be killed. Redmond ended up serving a term in a United States prison in Albany, New York, after being moved to South Carolina, where I am informed that he killed another man, an officer, and was again sent to prison. During the time of Governor Wade Hampton, a long petition, extensively signed by many ladies of South Carolina, was presented to the governor for his pardon. He called himself a major and claimed to be dying of tuberculosis. The pardon was granted in 1878, and Redmond, he has given no trouble since. He was never tried for killing Duckworth. Who knows? Maybe he had been living in Maple Springs for a long time since. Or maybe not. Wow. Who would have known this rural part of Swain County could have ever had such historic excitement? But you know what, though? Maple Springs, it is best identified by the Maple Springs Missionary Baptist Church. So tell me, folks, what happened from 1894 to 1946? Maybe, but the records from those days, they were destroyed in a fire. Therefore, there is no record of material or size of the first church. It is believed that the first building burned, with the second church having been built in 1908. That one, well, it was used until 1975. It stood on the top of a hill overlooking the beautiful mountains each way. In 1972, the motion was made and approved to build a new church. After months of planning and getting money together to start the building, the foundation was laid. One family bought the blocks, others bought different materials. God was said to have given the people the will to work, as well as supplying the money and materials. After working on their jobs, the men would get together to work on the foundation. They went on to hire carpenters, block and bricklayers, electricians, and other specialized workmen. One man brought his crew of bricklayers, donating their work each Saturday, furnishing the marble and veneering the front. All work was completed, and this work included carpeting, seats, pulpit furniture, desks, and much more. A beautiful Lord's Day, November 30th, 1975. That was the day when the community first entered the new Maple Springs Missionary Church building. Yes, Maple Springs, it just so happens to be mentioned in the September 1st, 1960 edition of the Asheville Citizen Times in an article called Once Flourishing Needmore Isn't Any Longer. Maple Springs is listed in a discussion of folks then living in the general area as one of the nearby communities that has seen some population. The article does date back to 1960. As you can see, however, There is still population here in 2020. Furthermore, Maple Springs, it is listed on many maps as a distinct community. Now, another very close by community is also mentioned in that article, a community called Hightower. That is important because, like Maple Springs, it does harbor a church. Hightower, however, appears to not be listed on many maps as a distinct community. The creek that runs near Hightower Road is called Licklog. In fact, a bit of a ways up, there is this road called Licklog Road. Now, Licklog, it is also listed as one of those Needmore communities in that 1960 article. Licklog, however, does not hold a church. Yes, Licklog is also the name of the creek. I will just assume that people who live along its banks have simply called the community Licklog. The name may have stuck for some time. Hightower, however, yes, it holds a church and yet is rarely listed as a distinct community. That is, I guess, kind of intriguing. Okay, we are now back in the immediate vicinity of Maple Springs. Still, we are not yet done exploring this place. 'Cause, you know, often the name of a road, it can hold some historical information. Why? Because roads are often named after people. If they are within a community, the people denoted by those road names likely had something to do with the area. So, folks, there is this road in the Needmore or Maple Springs vicinity. There does not seem to be a street sign, but from a map, we can find out it is named Troy Allen Road. The question then is just who is this Troy Allen fellow? Well, a simple search of the name sort of reveals nothing. An entry in Find a Grave, however, does exist for a Troy Lee Allen. Nothing else there is useful, though. So why don't we hit the deed books? This deed here, it seems to definitely shed some light on this. It is a road right-of-way deed. In the description, it talks about the road being west of Needmore Public Road, State Road 1113. Therefore, Troy Allen Road, it is highly likely to be the one talked about in that deed. Still, though, why on earth would someone want a road named after him? What did this Troy Allen once own, if anything, up this road? Was it just to apply a driveway, or, as the deed says, ingress and egress to said houses up the road? Even so, Troy Allen must have been important enough to have the road named after him. Also, this deed is from 1995, so prior to that year, was this road even here? And if so, who owned it? Well, the deed tells us the party owned a certain tract of land referenced in another deed. So let's check that one out. Well, here's that deed. Wow, this one takes us back to 1948. In the description, it talks about the area as being formerly the Allen lands. So this Troy Allen, he likely has some sort of family history in this area. In fact, the Allen family has been heavily associated with this church. The deed even goes on to mention the church and cemetery. With that said, we know almost definitely It is the correct one. But how far back can this go? Well, let's take a deeper look. And this one here, it goes back to when deeds were handwritten. This one dating from 1905. It is the earliest associated with the deeds. Research on names in this deed, well, they could take this land back even further. The land historically is associated with the Freeman and Cunningham families, and it does have some association with the Desharts, a heavily prominent name in early Swain County history. But you know what, folks? Yes, I hate to say it, but we are running out of time. But the oldest grave in the Maple Springs Cemetery, it dates back to the 1820s. So, just maybe that may mark the origins of Maple Springs. Well, today, this area, Maple Springs, it is home to the Maple Springs Confectionery. Apparently, they love to innovate with maple. I need to try their cayenne smoked maple glazed pecans. Well, you can buy their products at this coffee shop, the one that lies at the intersection of Needmore and Highway 74. Now, folks, yes, we do have to move on.